If you really want to crack the code on why one nation has managed to keep obesity below 5%, while the rest of the developed world watches those numbers climb past 30%, I'm going to tell you exactly where to look. Forget their gym routines. Forget calorie tracking. The answer is sitting right there on their breakfast table, morning after morning, day after day. Japan holds the world record for longest life expectancy, and their obesity rate is almost 10 times smaller than what we see here in the United States. Now here's the part that blew my mind. These folks aren't skipping meals. They're not pounding the pavement for hours. They're simply eating a very particular mix of foods that quietly teaches their body, right down to the cellular level, how to store fat differently and burn it more efficiently. And the main star of this whole story? It's a food most people in the West wouldn't even bring themselves to taste. Here's the story we've all been sold about staying slim. Eat less. Move more. Track every bite. Do that long enough, and the pounds will melt away. But after spending close to 15 years in emergency medicine and diving deep into metabolic research, I've seen something that completely blows that old advice out of the water. The Japanese actually eat more carbs than most Western countries. They serve white rice with practically every meal. And somehow their rates of metabolic syndrome, belly fat buildup, and type 2 diabetes stay some of the lowest anywhere on the globe. The magic isn't in the portion size. It's in what they pair with those carbs that rewrites the entire equation. I'm Dr. Adriana Markson, emergency physician and metabolism researcher. After years of watching my own patients shed the weight only to watch it creep back on within a year, I started searching for answers outside the usual Western diet playbook. What I uncovered in the peer-reviewed research on traditional Japanese eating wasn't just fascinating. It flipped everything I thought I knew on its head. We've been so focused on cutting back and going without that we've completely missed how certain foods actually send instructions to your fat cells to shrink, tell your gut bacteria to quiet down your hunger signals, and flip on your body's built-in fat-burning engine. And the Japanese have been doing this for hundreds of years. Here's what I'm going to walk you through today. I'll show you the sticky fermented food the Japanese eat every single day, the one that lab research has proven can shrink deep belly fat and rebalance your gut in just a few weeks. I'll explain how a special ingredient in green tea, the way Japan drinks it versus how we do it here, fires up what we call brown fat, your body's hidden furnace, and can push your calorie burn up by as much as 43%. I'll break down the Japanese meal blueprint called Ichiju Sansai that naturally keeps your portions in check without you ever counting a calorie. I'll explain why Japan's 4.5% obesity rate has almost nothing to do with lucky genes and everything to do with 5 specific foods you can bring into your kitchen this week. And I'll show you the common prep mistakes that wipe out these foods' fat-fighting powers before they ever hit your bloodstream. One quick favor before we dive in. So many of my viewers tell me they've watched 5 or 6 of my videos before realizing they never actually hit that subscribe button. Could you take just 2 seconds and double check right now? It costs you nothing, and it helps this channel reach more folks who truly need honest, science-backed health information. Thank you so much. Now, to really grasp why the Japanese stay so trim, you need to understand one thing most diet plans totally skip over: your gut microbiome. Picture your digestive tract as a huge manufacturing plant. You've got thousands of workers in there, bacteria, handling everything you swallow. In a well-run plant, these workers are sharp. They pull nutrients out of your food, crank out hormones that control your appetite, and send clear messages up to your brain saying, "We've had enough. Time to stop." But here's the trouble. In most Western guts, that plant is running short-staffed and everything's a mess. Years of processed foods, refined sugar, and low-fiber eating have wiped out the skilled crew and replaced them with bacteria that actually ramp up your hunger, inflame your organs, and tell your body to pack on more fat, especially around your internal organs. That's visceral fat. You can't see it in the mirror. You can't grab a handful of it. But it wraps around your liver, your pancreas, your intestines, and it leaks out inflammatory chemicals called cytokines that trigger insulin resistance, heart disease, and even certain cancers. Now here's where Japan's secret weapon walks onto the stage. The traditional Japanese way of eating might just be the most powerful gut-restoring diet on the planet. It's packed with fermented foods, soluble fiber, ocean-sourced omega-3s, and plant compounds that essentially restaff that plant with the most efficient fat-fighting workers nature ever invented. A massive worldwide study published in the Nutrition Journal looked at 132 different countries and discovered that how closely a nation ate like the Japanese was directly tied to lower obesity, even after accounting for income, lifestyle, and social factors. The higher a country scored on Japanese-style eating, more fish, more soy, more seaweed, more vegetables, less red meat, less dairy, the lower its obesity rate climbed. And I don't mean a little lower. I mean dramatically lower. So what exactly are these foods, and how do they actually retrain your metabolism? Let me walk you through it. First mechanism, fermentation, rebuilding your gut. The foundation of Japan's metabolic edge comes from fermented foods, especially natto, miso, and traditionally made soy products. These aren't just flavor boosters. They're living delivery vehicles. Natto, made from soybeans fermented with a bacteria called Bacillus subtilis, does something pretty incredible inside your gut. It shifts the balance between two big bacterial families, Bacteroidetes and Firmicutes. Why does this matter? Because when Firmicutes dominate over Bacteroidetes, scientists consistently see obesity follow. Eating natto regularly tips that ratio back toward the lean profile. Research in the Journal of Molecular Nutrition and Food Research showed natto significantly cut down belly fat storage, and the more people ate, the more visceral fat vanished. It also slowed down fat production in the liver and sped up fat breakdown. Plain soybeans didn't come close. Fermentation unlocked the fat-fighting power. Think of it like this. Regular soybeans are a locked toolbox. All the good stuff's inside, but your body can barely get at it because of blockers called trypsin inhibitors. Fermentation is the key that pops that toolbox wide open, releasing isoflavones your body can actually use, nattokinase enzymes, and probiotic bacteria that get to work the moment they land in your gut. Second mechanism, firing up brown fat with catechins. This is where green tea takes center stage, but not the way most Americans drink it. In Japan, matcha is a fine powder, meaning you swallow the entire leaf, not just water that's been steeped over it. That delivers up to 137 times more of a compound called EGCG, epigallocatechin gallate, compared to your standard cup of green tea. EGCG does something remarkable. It wakes up brown adipose tissue, a unique kind of fat that works like a personal furnace. White fat stores energy. Brown fat burns it to create warmth through a process called thermogenesis. A review in the journal Nutrients went through 10 experimental studies and confirmed green tea catechins boost a protein called UCP1. Think of UCP1 as the ignition switch for brown fat. Once it's on, brown fat starts burning your white fat as fuel. Your body literally eats its own stored fat to make heat. Research out of the University of Geneva showed green tea extract bumped up 24-hour energy burn by 4%. And this wasn't from the caffeine. When they tested just caffeine alone at the same dose, nothing happened to metabolism. It was the catechin-caffeine pairing working together that juiced up noradrenaline signaling and kept the fat burn switch flipped on. Third mechanism, the fiber fullness pathway. This one's less flashy, but just as strong. The traditional Japanese diet is incredibly rich in seaweed, root vegetables, barley, and fermented plants, delivering soluble and insoluble fiber at levels most Western diets can't come near. A study from the Fukuoka Diabetes Registry that followed over 4,300 Japanese patients found higher fiber intake lined up with lower body weight, lower fasting blood sugar, lower triglycerides, and lower inflammation, even after adjusting for age, sex, and total calories. Fiber feeds your good bacteria, which then produce short-chain fatty acids like butyrate. Butyrate does two crucial things. It strengthens your intestinal lining so inflammatory junk can't leak into your blood, and it talks to your brain through the gut-brain axis to calm your appetite. You feel genuinely full on less food, not denied, just satisfied. Let me share the specific studies that convinced me this wasn't just cultural lore. Study 1. Researchers at the Jilin Academy of Agricultural Sciences fed obese rats natto powder for 8 weeks. The natto group lost significant weight, balanced their cholesterol by calming down liver X receptor pathways, and reshaped their gut bacteria, more Bacteroidetes, fewer firmicutes, measured through genetic analysis. Real, measurable biological changes. Study 2. Scientists using obese mouse models gave them Bacillus natto for 8 weeks. The result? Significant drops in body weight, belly fat, kidney fat, and liver weight. Blood triglycerides and cholesterol both fell. The bacteria shut down fat production and turned up fat burning. These weren't feelings. These were numbers in a lab. Study 3. The University of Geneva's thermogenesis study proved green tea extract containing 90 milligrams of EGCG and 50 milligrams of caffeine produced a real 4% bump in 24-hour energy burn. Their respiratory quotient dropped from 0.88 to 0.85, showing a clear shift from burning carbs to burning fat. Caffeine alone? Nothing. Study 4. The 132-nation analysis found the traditional Japanese diet score was inversely tied to obesity with strong statistical power, even after accounting for income, education, healthcare, and smoking. Countries eating more like Japan came out leaner on every continent, across every economy. This isn't theory. It's reproducible science. Now here are the exact foods, amounts, and preparation steps you can start using this week. Food 1. Natto. About 50 grams a day, 1 small traditional pack. Eat it at breakfast with rice. If the texture throws you off, stir in a splash of soy sauce and a dab of mustard. That's how it's actually eaten in Japan. The Bacillus subtilis survives stomach acid and reaches your intestines alive, which is why natto outperforms most probiotic pills. Can't find fresh natto? Frozen natto from Asian grocery stores works just as well. The bacteria wake right back up after thawing. Food 2. Matcha green tea. 1 to 2 teaspoons of ceremonial-grade powder a day, about 2 to 3 grams. Whisk it into water heated to 175 degrees, never boiling. Boiling water destroys those delicate catechins. Drink it in the morning and early afternoon. A squeeze of lemon boosts EGCG absorption up to 6 times. Never use cow's milk. The casein in dairy binds to catechins and cuts absorption by up to 80%. Plant-based milks are fine. Food 3. Miso soup. 1 bowl a day made with unpasteurized miso paste. That word unpasteurized is critical. Pasteurized miso has dead bacteria. Stir 1 tablespoon of miso into warm, not boiling, water or dashi broth. Add seaweed, tofu, and green onions. You get probiotics and prebiotic fiber in a single bowl. Food 4. Seaweed. 5 to 10 grams of dried wakame or kombu, 3 or 4 times a week. Seaweed has a unique compound called fucoxanthin that targets belly fat by activating UCP1 in white fat cells, essentially turning them into brown-like, fat-burning cells. Toss it into soups, salads, or rice balls. Food 5. Fatty fish. 3 servings a week of salmon, mackerel, sardines, or any omega-3 rich seafood. At least 284 milligrams of omega-3 per serving. EPA and DHA keep your brown fat active and calm body-wide inflammation. Grill or bake. Never deep fry. That destroys the omega-3s and adds inflammatory oils. Food 6. Pickled vegetables or tsukemono. A small serving a day, 30 to 50 grams. Traditional Japanese pickles fermented in rice bran, nukazuke, are loaded with lactobacillus that further diversifies your gut. Look for naturally fermented varieties, not vinegar-based pickles, which have no live cultures. Food 7. Barley or mixed grain rice. Swap out pure white rice for mujigohan, a barley rice mix, at least once a day. Research showed non-obese Japanese people who ate more barley had significantly more butyrate-producing bacteria in their guts. Use a 70/30 ratio of white rice to barley. Now let me give you the insider pointers that separate people who see real results from those who don't. Tip 1. Timing matters. Drink your matcha about 30 minutes before your biggest meal of the day. The catechins prime your brown fat to activate right when your body is about to process the most incoming calories. That's when the thermogenic effect does its heaviest lifting. Tip 2. The Ichiju Sansai structure. Build your meals the traditional Japanese way. 1 soup, 3 sides, plus rice. 1 bowl of miso soup. 1 protein, fish, tofu, or natto. 2 small vegetable sides. This naturally creates a plate high in fiber, moderate in protein, and portion-controlled without you measuring a thing. Japanese people don't count calories. The structure does it for them. Tip 3. Spread your fermented foods across the day. Don't pile them all into one meal. Natto at breakfast, miso at lunch, pickled vegetables at dinner. You're giving your gut a steady stream of beneficial bacteria instead of one big dump it can't fully use. Tip 4. The 12-hour overnight window. Most Japanese households eat dinner by 7 or 8 p.m. and breakfast around 7 a.m., creating a natural 11 to 12-hour fasting stretch. Not on purpose, just cultural timing. But it gives your body long nightly windows to burn stored fat while the beneficial bacteria from dinner quietly do their repair work. Tip 5. Hara Hachi. This is the Okinawan rule of eating until you're 80% full. Your gut needs about 20 minutes to get the "I'm full" message to your brain. When you stop at 80%, by the time that signal arrives, you feel perfectly content, not stuffed. This one habit alone cuts calorie intake by 15 to 20% without any sense of going without. Let me save you from the mistakes I see over and over. Mistake 1. Quitting too soon. The biggest error is trying these foods for a week, not seeing fireworks, and walking away. Your gut takes 4 to 8 weeks to meaningfully rebuild itself. Natto doesn't work after one serving. Matcha doesn't rewire your brown fat overnight. The Japanese aren't lean from eating these foods once. They eat them every single day, year after year. Consistency is the mechanism. Mistake 2. Boiling your matcha or miso. Both get destroyed by boiling water. Pour boiling water on matcha, and you wreck up to 60% of the EGCG. Drop miso into a rolling boil, and you kill the probiotics entirely. The rule is simple. 175 degrees for matcha. Always add miso after you pull the pot off the heat. Mistake 3. Choosing supplements instead of real food. I see this constantly. People buy natto kinase capsules instead of eating natto. They pop matcha extract pills instead of drinking matcha. You lose the fiber. You lose the synergy. You lose the prebiotic base. You lose the bacteria themselves. A natto kinase supplement gives you one enzyme. Real natto gives you the enzyme plus bacillus subtilis plus isoflavones plus fiber plus vitamin K2. Whole foods are the full package. Supplements are a photocopy of one page. Mistake 4. Obsessing over the scale. If you start this and your waist drops an inch, but the scale hasn't budged, you're winning. You're losing visceral fat and possibly gaining lean tissue. Measure your waist every week. It's a far more honest indicator of metabolic health than what the scale says. Here's what I want you to walk away with today. Gaining weight as you get older is not a done deal. Metabolic decline is not programmed into your DNA. The Japanese didn't win some genetic lottery. When Japanese people move to Western countries and pick up Western eating habits, their obesity rates rise to match their new neighbors within one generation. The people who keep a healthy metabolism into their 60s, 70s, 80s aren't doing anything wild. They're consistently feeding their bodies the foods that support the systems built to keep them lean. A rich gut microbiome, active brown fat, low inflammation, steady blood sugar. Every one of those systems is alive inside your body right now. They're not broken. They're just waiting for the right signals. And those signals come from your plate, not a pill bottle, not a fad diet, not willpower alone. You can start sending them today. Let me lock in everything we covered. 1. Japan's 4.5% obesity rate comes from what they eat, not their genes or starvation. A global study of 132 countries proved eating Japanese style predicts lower obesity. 2. Natto, fermented soybeans, reshapes your gut by shifting bacterial ratios, shrinks belly fat the more you eat, and shuts down liver fat production. 50 grams a day. 3. Matcha delivers concentrated HCG that turns on brown fat through UCP1, bumps up energy burned by 4%, and shifts your body from burning carbs to burning fat. 1 to 2 teaspoons a day at 175 degrees, with lemon, no dairy. 4. Miso soup gives you probiotics and prebiotics in one bowl. Use unpasteurized miso in warm, not boiling broth. 1 bowl a day. 5. Seaweed has fucoxanthin, which attacks belly fat by turning white fat cells brown. 5 to 10 grams of dried wakame 3 or 4 times a week. 6. Fatty fish 3 times a week keeps brown fat active and inflammation low. 7. Fermented pickles and barley rice blends further diversify your gut and boost butyrate-producing bacteria. 8. Use the Ichiju Sansai meal layout and Hara Hachi BU principle to handle portions naturally without calorie counting. 9. Measure your waist weekly, not your weight. Losing visceral fat is the real marker of metabolic improvement. Your metabolic health is not some fixed outcome stamped by your age or your family tree. It's a living system that responds to what you feed it every day. You have far more control over it than anyone's ever told you. If today's information helped you, I need 2 quick things from you. First, share this video with someone you love who's been fighting stubborn weight or metabolic struggles. Over 40% of adults worldwide are now overweight, and most of them have never heard a word about any of this. Second, subscribe and hit that like button so this channel can keep reaching folks who want real science instead of gimmicks. If you want to go deeper into how specific foods activate your body's built-in defense systems, check out my other videos on brown fat activation and gut microbiome health. The links are right here on screen. I'll see you in the next one.